Hello, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, depending on where you're watching from. This is Alex Tomaszewska, your confidence trainer for women who feel they lost their mojo and they crave a change in their life. And today is an interview evening, interview day, however you call it, wherever you're watching from. And I have the pleasure to be interviewing Sophia Yen. Just a short introduction. I'm going to read this one, and then we're going to get to the questions. It's going to be fun and informative, as I always try to make my interviews. Sophia Yen, MD, MPH, is the CEO and co-founder of Pandia Health Birth Control Delivery. Dr. Yen graduated from MIT, UCSF Medical School, and UC Berkeley's MPH program. With 20 plus years in medicine, she serves as a clinical associate professor at Stanford Medical School and on the executive committee of the American Academy of Pediatrics section on adolescent health. She focuses on reproductive health and co-funded 2 nonprofit projects to improve the lives of women, the Silver Ribbon Campaign to Trust Women and SheHeroes.org. Okay, that went almost smoothly. Thank you so much for meeting me here.
Thank you for having me. It's always great to be with another woman entrepreneur helping each other.
Yes, I love that. And we have, I think it's an 8-hour time difference. So I'm here in Europe and you're over there in the US. Just Monday morning, you're just starting your week. So I hope I'm just going to give you a great start. And without further ado, let's get started. So my first question is, did you always know that you wanted to be a doctor?
So growing up in a Taiwanese American household, our options were doctor, lawyer, Indian chief, but mainly something in science. And I love people and I love science. And so if I only love science, I'd go and get a PhD and sit at the bench all day with my lab and stuff like that. But I love people. And so medicine allows you to do good, do science while interacting with people, seeing people. And so I've wanted to be a doctor since 4th grade. I even used being a doctor as an excuse to get extra stickers. So, stickers on paper. And so I would go to my mom and say, oh, I need more than 1 sheet of stickers. I need 3 of everything for my future patients. So I had a giant book of stickers for my future patients. I still haven't given it to my patients. I did run across it the other day looking for stuff, but it's about helping people and it's about using science for good.
Oh, wow, that is so cool. And that just reminded me, I used to pretend I am a business owner as a kid, and I had business cards, and everything. My parents, if they wanted something from me, they had to, give me a contract.
Oh my God.
And then they would get a receipt.
Wow. You are more entrepreneurial than I, though I have been in a lot of stuff in high school and college. I've been treasurer in high school, treasurer in college, did junior achievement, which is a program here in the United States for teenagers to open their own company, incorporate, sell shares, and then do a stockholder report. And we return 900% returns.
Wow, that's awesome. Great job. Well, I recall for me, I love the paperwork around it. So that's why I wanted a contract and an invoice. Like the stuff that I was going to do was not so much fun. And it's exactly the opposite now. So people change.
Absolutely. I am not a fan of the paperwork and the legal contracts.
No one likes that. I was a weird kid, supposedly. Right. Okay, so today you're going to tell us about your startup, about what it does, and I just want to mention that it's the only female-led and female-founded startup in the industry of birth control in US. So that's big. That's really big. Most of them are led by men, and we will discuss, why your company is so different and how much understanding you are able to give to your patients just because you are a woman. So brilliant. So what got you to start your company?
So I'm a clinical associate professor at Stanford, and I was giving a talk to a bunch of different physicians saying, why don't those pesky women take their birth control? And one of the top reasons that came up was women don't have it in their hand. We didn't have time to run to the pharmacy every single month and get there on time for 20 to 40 years of our lives to go get the medication. And that, I realize, is actually a stressor in women's life. I've actually coined the term, and it hasn't been used in medicine to my knowledge before, and hopefully we'll get it out there: pill anxiety. So anybody who's ever been on the birth control pill, you go through 3 rows, and then that last row, if you don't get to the pharmacy, there will be a dire consequence. And that's just sitting in the back of your head every month. You know, and so my friend Perlini and I were like, we can solve this. We'll just ship it to you and keep shipping it to you and keep shipping it to you and shipping it to you until you tell us to stop. And then when we ran ads for free birth control delivery, 60%, 60% of those women didn't have a prescription. I'm a doctor. I can write prescriptions. And so we added on the telemedicine component, and there we are today. Pandia Health, the end-to-end solution for birth control delivery, from an online doctor's visit to the medication sent to you by mail with something delightful every single month. And if you have a prescription, I don't want to write the prescription. I just want to take it from wherever it is to our partner pharmacy and deliver it. We don't want to break your relationship with your primary care doctor and provider. We're also not your primary care doctor provider. We're only here for birth control. Our mantra is no one runs out of birth control on our watch. But if you're far away from the nearest physician, or you don't have insurance or whatever, we're happy to help facilitate the prescription. And we can currently write the prescription in California and Florida. We can deliver to all 50 states. Unfortunately, we're not in Europe or other countries, but if anybody wants to talk franchise for the future, feel free to hit me up.
That's an idea. That's awesome. And also, I remember you mentioned that even if I came, because this is private care, if I came to the US and I wanted to get some birth control, I could also use the same service as long as I'm in the US. You didn't even have to be a citizen.
Absolutely. So we usually take insurance, and I, as a woman, as a doctor, want to make sure nobody's paying for anything they don't need to pay. So if you have health insurance in the United States, we bill the medications to your insurance, and our delivery, automatic refill, and reminder service is free. The only thing we charge for currently is $29 once a year for 364-day access to our enthusiastic, well-credentialed, look, check out where we all went to school and where we did residency, doctors. And then if you're visiting from out of country, as long as you're physically in California and Florida at the time you fill out the questionnaire and we take care of you, then we can write you a prescription for an entire year. If you pay for it cash because you don't have United States insurance, it's roughly $15 per pack. So 15 times 12 packs, or 15 times 15 packs, or 17 packs if you're skipping that monthly bleed. And give us a week, because we have to use US Postal Service. But if you're here for a week, then sign up as soon as you get here, and then we'll ship it to you, and you'll have a year's supply of birth control to go with.
Woo! That's a lot of candy. Okay, so so as long as you're a doctor, because I'm looking into birth control right now as a woman of 37, you know, there's a point in time when you're allowed to kind of to switch to other methods. I wanted to ask you about the most innovative and least harmful methods for birth control currently available. What would you recommend as a doctor?
Yes. So what differentiates our company from others is because we're doctor-founded, doctor-led. We are, again, the only doctor-founded, doctor-led company, reproductive health doctor founded and led company in the birth control delivery space. We will always tell you what's best for your health, even if it's not best for my bottom line. But I will absolutely make money for my investors. I just won't make it off of lying to you or giving you misinformation or not giving you up-to-date information. So being an academic at Stanford, I know the latest and greatest papers, and I have medical students and residents saying, Dr. Yen, why aren't you doing this? This is the latest and greatest. So to answer your question, the new paradigm in medicine is to start with the best and work your way down. And currently the best is the implant or the IUD with hormone. The implant, I'm not as much of a fan as the IUD with hormone, simply because the implant goes in your arm and the hormone goes throughout your entire body.
Yeah.
Whereas the IUD goes in your uterus, inside the uterus, not the vagina, and then it gives out local, a little bit lower hormone. And about 40% of women, I used to quote 70, but the latest research has shown 40% of women on the IUD with hormone will lose their period. And the other 60% will have lighter periods. So that is a great benefit. The implant, some women will have weird spotting for 3 to 6 months, but then after that, it should mellow out. So the question is whether you can suck it up for that 3 to 6 months with some irregular bleeding, but in exchange, one of the best methods for birth control. And then beyond that, then comes the shot. But unfortunately with the shot, that one has some irregular bleeding, but the two main side effects are gives you the munchies and is not so great for your bone density, but everything is better than pregnant. And then the new one that's come out, but whether or not insurance covers it, and therefore if it's not, it's crazy expensive, is Anovera. So the Nuva ring used to be the one that all doctors were on. You just stick a ring in your vagina and you can change it every single month, or you could change it after 3 weeks, have a bleed, and then put one back in. Now they have one Anovera entire year. So you just stick it in your vagina, leave it there for the entire year, or take it out however often you want to have a bleed. I don't suggest more than 3 to 4 times a year because I hate blood, but your call.
You're a doctor. Can you hate blood?
I hate blood coming out of bodies unnecessarily. Unnecessary blood loss. Let's call it that. Unnecessary blood loss. And so
that's fair.
That a period is like taking somebody's arm, slicing it, and letting it bleed for 7 days. If we did that to men, they would flip out.
Oh, yeah.
But we as women, we suck it up, right? And we're constantly being bloodlet every month for no good reason. And I haven't, gotten to know the viewers, but for the viewers out there, the only reason we build that lining every month is to catch an embryo. And if we're not trying to catch an embryo on average in industrialized nations from 12 to 26 or 35, for those of us who had to go through more school or took a while to find our significant other, why are we building that lining, waiting for an embryo, bleeding, building, bleeding, building, bleeding for 20 plus years if we're not trying to catch an embryo? That's just a waste of blood. And also, every time we build it, we risk endometrial cancer. Every time we pop out an egg and it heals, we don't know which of the process, we risk ovarian cancer. So if you can turn off that unnecessary popping of the egg every single month and unnecessary building and sloughing and building and sloughing every month, we can decrease endometrial and ovarian cancer. And we can also decrease anemia. Anemia is low blood because you keep losing blood every month. And in the old days, we used to have 100 periods. Now we're having 350 to 400 periods. Because in the old days, we wouldn't have enough nutrition to start our periods until 15. We're now starting at 12. We would only have 5 to 7 periods a year. We're having 13. And we would have 8 babies. We're only having 2, which thank goodness, I believe in 2, not 8, but everybody to themselves. And then breastfeeding for 12 to 18 months, we're only breastfeeding 0, 3, or 6 months. So the natural state is incessant pregnancy or breastfeeding. And we've now turned into this unnatural state of incessant menstruation.
I had no idea about all of this, actually. By the way, what Sophia was showing previously is a uterus necklace. So I wanted to come today with something, equally awesome. So I'm wearing a tie. Yeah, that is the coolest thing ever. Right. So what do you think about, so what is so different between your company and the male-led companies? I think you realized that they didn't really understand their customers. And where did that difference actually come from?
So I think the difference between a female-led, female-founded customer is, as I like to say, I live, breathe, eat, and prescribe birth control. So I understand the woman's pain. I personally experienced pill anxiety for 20 plus years. And also as a woman and a CEO, because I have the woman body and the woman parts, I experience all the woman things. So as I get older, menopause, a new product I've come up with, I hope the men aren't watching this video, is yeast infection. I had a friend, she got a yeast infection, and I was like, oh, let me just write you this prescription, take one pill, done. Versus not having a physician friend Then you have to put this cream up your vagina, right? Once to 3 times a day for 7 days, and you have cream leaking out of your vagina for the next week. To me, this is so old school when you can just get a medication and done. So much more civilized, right? But a male would never think of that. He might see his significant other, if he's heterosexual, have a yeast infection. Oh, I'm sorry for you. But me, I'm like, hey, that's a new product for us, right? And also, as women founded, women led, it's the connections. I have access to these women entrepreneur groups. I have access to sorority. I have access to women helping women. I love Madeleine Albright's quote, there's a special place in hell for women who don't help women. And so I'm hoping all the women founders out there, but also just women, when you get a chance to choose between a woman-owned company and a non-woman-owned company, know that the woman-owned company should know you better because she's a woman and she should be thinking about you. And if she's not, then she's not a good entrepreneur. But this guy just doesn't have your parts and isn't necessarily going to think about you 24/7. I think that's critical. And then the other thing is to ask, who is the CEO of your company? If you go on some of my competitors, they don't say who the CEO is. They don't have any picture because they know that he's a he, or he's not somebody with a uterus. And so I believe in transparency. Make sure when you go to a health organization, you know the name, the full name, not just the first name, but the first name and the last name. And ideally look at the credentials as well of those people. And you want to help women. You want to make sure you're checking who's leading these companies, because you'd be surprised how many are run by men. Like I just saw another company about beauty exploration. Who are the founders? 2 dudes. How much makeup are they using, right? I want to help women, and these are places that women should be excelling.
Right, that is so beautiful. And for our group of viewers, this is going to be excellent. I think most of them really take a deeper look into who's leading the companies. But myself, I don't do it yet. And thank you for reminding me about that, because it's so important to support each other, you know, in those positions where there's just so little of us being CEOs and founders. So thanks for raising that up. And so my next question will be, if you ran into, I mean, what sort of issues you ran into while you were starting your own startup, and maybe you run into now that possibly would not be considered issues for a man, and if you handled something that might be a learning lesson for all of us.
I think that the hardest thing, and the thing that's in the back of my mind as I go around raising money, because without money, you can't run your company or compete if your competitors are getting $50 million and you're getting $1 million, is that I feel when I go pitch to the traditional venture capitalists, they're older, they're Caucasian, and they're male. And so 97% of VC, I believe, is male. So they don't understand the pain point. And so when they see me, a woman, a doctor, a mother, and an older person, these are all strikes against me that they see. But I see these as benefits. And the key for you as a person, as a woman, or with a uterus, or any of these categories, is to point out why these are benefits and these are not negatives, and maybe to proactively address it. And maybe that's what I haven't done, is that as a woman, I better understand this. As a doctor, I have the domain expertise and I can talk about birth control in my sleep and make videos and podcasts and blogs because I just love it. And little Instagram, we're gonna go on Instagram Live in about, I think, an hour. So if any of you still awake then, let's do that. And then as a mother, I can multitask, and I look at all these people that don't have children, and once your youngest kid's 5 and my youngest kid's now 10, you're at like crazy productivity, and you look at all these people without children and you're like, what are you doing on your evenings and weekends? There are so many hours in the day. Like, you're sitting around having coffee and reading a newspaper? No, there's so much work to be done and so much time to do it in. So being a mother, I have far more energy. And then they also discount you. They go, oh, because you're you're an older person, you know, you're old and unmalleable. No, as an older person, I know what I know, and I know a little more what I don't know. And I've learned I'm not always the best and the brightest in every field, not everyone. And I'm willing to ask for help, and I'm willing to
Oh,
change. And that
big.
my connections are better, no offense, than a 21-year-old, because all my friends are the head of marketing and they've been doing it for 10 to 20 years. So they can get me advice and they can get me in places that a newly fresh 21-year-old dude can't. But I have wondered, and I have an African American, or he's not American, he's an African friend, but in the United States, he said, just hire a white guy, have him go around and pitch and get the money, and then kick him out after 2 years, and then you become CEO. And I was like, I don't want to do that, and I
Mm,
shouldn't have to do that. But I look
exactly.
sometimes at my husband and I go, I bet you if he pitched, money would just fall from the sky. Asian American working at Apple, dude, he'd probably just be like, oh, you know. So make sure when you're pitching that you make it clear why all these things are a benefit.
I wanted to say this is so important. I mean, the fact that you didn't take that path, the easier path, because you are actually pioneering this path for us. And it's so important that we do the whole thing, you know, not just hire somebody for the first 2 years, but you actually walk this path. This is what makes the difference. I mean, if you didn't do that, it wouldn't be such a huge difference. So that is excellent. And everything that you said here is so important. And turning what you can see as your weak points into actually valuable assets. That's, you know, that's the mindset thing. And I know you're very confident. You said that you have the confidence of women, and it actually shows because you're so natural and you use your sense of humor to talk about, you know, blood and stuff and whatever. So I totally, absolutely love and adore that about you. And it shows, you know, it shows that courage and the proper mindset is the way to go. Although the path might be a little bit steeper, um, we need to do this, ladies. This is what has to be done. We just have to do it. You know, just sometimes we don't have to think about ourselves, but we need to think about the next generations and what we're actually creating these days for them, for them, for the other girls. That was just awesome. So how much time do we have? We still have time. Do we want to, you know, devote a couple sentences to male contraceptives?
Sure,
Yeah. How do you feel
absolutely.
about them?
So, the one thing we're trying to do at Pandia Health, because I'm an adolescent medicine specialist, and we're trying to destigmatize birth control in the current political climate in the United States, is we want to educate women, hashtag periods optional. And so the negative of male contraception is then I'm not using anything, so then I can't turn off my periods. And so that's the one negative I would say to male contraception. But another stressor is if male contraception fails, who is screwed? The woman, the person with the uterus. And so I don't know if I would trust the male to take the medication if I'm the one that's going to suffer the consequences.
Yeah.
Also, we always believe in condoms plus a hormonal method if you're preventing sexually transmitted infections, but also if you double up, your chances of pregnancy goes way, way down. And so again, as a woman-founded, doctor-founded company, I'm not afraid to say blatant, gross, crass things about vagina. And so what I want to put out there, and all women should say, is people go, oh, if you notice my condom bag in the corner, but my married man, why are you using condoms? Because you're married. Don't you trust
Mm.
your significant other? And I say, I don't like to leak semen for the next 24 hours after I have relations. And if those with penises had that leak for the next 24 hours, I'm pretty sure they would force you to wear something to
Oh,
prevent
they so would. They so would. Yes, yes, yes. Or
that.
they
And
would
so I
invent
think
something,
it's
you know,
about
preventive. I don't know.
it's about gross leakage, but also I've also studied bacterial vaginosis. And so the semen, which is alkaline, hits your vagina, which is acid, and can mess up that beautiful harmony in your vagina because you have bacteria and yeast living in harmony. But sometimes the yeast take over, yeast infection. Then
Mm-hmm.
sometimes the bacteria take over, bacterial vaginosis. And bacterial vaginosis won't do anything bad to you unless you've had recurrent miscarriages. Then you got to get it treated. But otherwise, it's just a nuisance. It's leaky, it's stinky. But if you don't expose yourself to foreign objects in your vagina leaking for 24 hours, you might decrease the incidence of those kinds of things as
Mm.
well. So for male contraception, there is something coming out. I believe there's an injection. I believe there's a pill. And you might have seen the notices that, oh no, they get acne and they get hunger and they get weight gain. Same side effects that we women have sucked up since the beginning of all these methods in the 1960s. So I don't mind it. Time for them to suck it up too. But selfishness is I like not having periods. So I hope if anybody wants to learn more about that, go to pandiahealth.com/periods optional. On top is if you're on the pill of the ring, how to do it. Very practical. On the bottom is my TEDx talk, pretty much reviewing what we discussed earlier on the safety and the science of turning off your periods. And we as doctors have crammed it in women's heads, you must have a period every single month. And
Yeah.
yes, if you're not on any medication, you better have a period every month, or we got to figure out why. You don't have
Mm-hmm.
enough nutrition, you're pregnant, you have a thyroid problem, you have a tumor in your head. However, if we put you on a hormonal contraceptive or method, periods are optional. And how much better is life without random blood 1 week out of 4? And we women haven't talked about this. It is random blood. People with Venuses don't get it because they think it comes regularly in the same time every single day, anytime, any day, anywhere. And another just stressor in the back of our minds, always having some sanitary product or having to be embarrassed and to go to a bathroom, wad up some toilet paper, put it down, and hope it doesn't fall out as you're walking across the room.
Yeah.
Right?
And I know some women, after giving birth, their periods just get so volume size huge that they need to wear like almost a diaper, and it's the stress of, am I leaking like in a meeting or am I not leaking? And I remember my friend telling me he was standing next to his friend's wife, and he looked down and there were red dots like on the floor, and he said, I think there's something wrong with you, so he had to go through that too. So, and then that's a huge problem after you've had some children, I hear. Yeah. So also stopping that
Yes,
could really be very beneficial.
Immediately postpartum, we don't recommend doing, tampons because there is that blood that needs to come out, but that's only for, a week to a month maximum. But after that, we can, take care of things. And then birth control, people are like, I just had a baby. And I was like, yeah, I don't even know how people get pregnant that quickly because I don't want anything touching that after birth. And with the baby, it's just all sorts of horror, but some people do. So know that 6 to 9 weeks after you have your baby, you could get pregnant again. Some people are just crazy fertile. So you absolutely should talk with your provider before the baby comes out. What are you going to do after to prevent the next one? Because the WHO recommends 18 months between your pregnancy so that your body has time to recover and get the nutrients and to give enough attention to this baby that's here. Breastfeed it, take care of it well. But for you to get back on the nutrition to grow and harbor another pregnancy.
That's
so
also
definitely get on it. And we've seen many women have their second baby because they didn't have time to run to the pharmacy because their life was so crazy with the baby. And so had another baby. We did another survey with, I forget what the platform is, but it's a platform of a friend of mine, the mom support group, at parent support group. It's amazing. And a lot of them got pregnant because one, they were put on progesterone only pills. So if you're put on a progesterone only pill, because you just had a baby and there's risks of blood clots and they said you could go back on a normal one, make sure you ask to go back on a normal one. Because the joke in medicine is, what do we call a woman on the progesterone only pill? We call her mom or pregnant.
Oh.
Because if you are 3 hours late on the progesterone only pill, you need to either use emergency contraception if you had any sex in the past 5 days, heterosexual sex, or if in the next 5 days you're going to, you should either abstain or use a condom. So it's a very strict method. But if you're good and you're anal retentive, it'll be fine. But not all of us are so good and not all of us are fine. So it's better to be on a combination method if you don't have to be on the progesterone only. But a lot of women that have babies forget and they just stay on the progesterone only pill. And we can actually switch you to a normal one, I believe 9 weeks postpartum, to a regular combination, which is not as strict. So plus or minus 5 hours, and don't have to do this emergency contraception stuff or, abstain and stuff.
That's a great reminder too. All right, we need to slowly wrap it up. This was awesome. Thank you so much. So 2 questions for you at the end. First of all, how can we help you as a community?
Yes, so I would love everybody's help getting the word out about Pandia Health and increasing the awareness about female-founded, female-led, female-owned companies. We're going to try to launch a product with either Springboard Enterprise, and Rebecca Minkoff has a project as well, Female Founders, Female Founder Collective, Feminine Equity, one of these nonprofits, such that all of us that are female-founded, female-led, female-owned will have a little stamp on our website that says FF, female-founded, or FO, female-owned, or women-owned, women-led. We'll come up with something, but increase that awareness and put that in people's heads. And then number 2, would love to co-market with anybody that's targeting women aged 15 to 35. I'll promote you, you promote me. And then lastly, as I mentioned before, periods optional. Let anybody know who has a uterus is bleeding 1 week out of 4. That's optional. And you can decrease landfill. You can increase your own productivity, and you can decrease pain and anemia. And it's actually better for anybody with chronic disease. So if you have depression, seizures, diabetes, much better to have stable hormone than up and down, up and down, up and down every month. Headaches, and premenstrual headache. If you have premenstrual headache, we get rid of menstrual. There's no more headache, no more blood, no more pain. So help us spread the word about periods optional. Help us spread the word about Pandia Health, the only women-founded, women-led, practicing reproductive health, doctor-founded and led birth control delivery system in the United States.
Woohoo! Awesome. I thought I knew a lot about contraceptives, because I really do my research with anything, and I just learned so much today. It's actually terrifying, what we don't know, even though we think we do know. Yeah. So thank you for that. And then the last question is, how can you help us? How can you help the community of women? So you mentioned the female-owned, female-founded. I think that's the way to you'd like to go about. And
we're going to launch that project, and my idea is having a symbol or stamp for all 3 of those: female-founded, female-led, female-owned, because one of my competitors just swapped out for a female CEO after they had an expose on stuff that happened in the New York Times. And so then they're going to say they're female-led, but they're not female-founded and they're not female-owned. So anyway, we're going to have 3 different types of certifications. We'll also have a website to help everybody's SEO that lists everybody that qualifies under that. It's going to be a nonprofit, so people can donate towards this, and we'll see where it ends up. So please follow me on LinkedIn or Twitter. Also follow Pandia Health on Instagram, Facebook, and every social media. We're also on YouTube. How I can and how Pandia can help others. Again, we're happy to promote you. We have a box that goes to women's doors every month, every 3 months, and we are happy to highlight female-founded companies by sending a card with a swag to make people think happily about you and or a discount, and get that out to our women. And also shout outs on social media. Happy to do any Facebook Live or any kind of video educating your community about periods optional, about their birth control options. And then know that we're a resource for birth control, the birth control pill patch ring. The other methods, you have to go elsewhere. But for the pill patch ring, we have great education on YouTube with
Hmm.
150,000 views with no promotion whatsoever, because that information is so vital. And then
Wow.
also on our website, we have a blog, and we also have Q&A with Dr. Y, which is all the questions I've ever answered on every platform, because I answered a ton of questions on Wikipedia, not Wikipedia, but Wiki Answers, Yahoo Answers, Quora, patients' questions that come in, because why reinvent the wheel? Why not
Yes.
share information with
Should be
everybody?
all in one place. Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
so I think I reach out to the women CEOs. You're doing amazing. Let's help each other. Make sure you send the elevator back down for those of us who still need a rise. And let's rise, and let's help others rise.
Oh, wow. That was so beautiful and perfect. Thank you so much for taking the time here today. I think a lot of women are just going to, first of all, enjoy it, and second of all, learn so much. And then again, get the courage to step up into women founded, women led, women owned. So we will post links to, of course, all your profiles, etc. And that's it. Thank you so much again. I wish you all the best, and I would love to support you in any way. If anything comes up to your head in the future, you know where to find. Best of
Thank
luck.
you so much. I really
Thank you.
appreciate the fun time.
Thank you.